Okay. I think this is a good spot to be. I think it is. All right. Okay, so let me get this here. Okay, so we're talking about the stock market today. Interesting news and interesting happenings have occurred as a result of what's been going on with the stock market. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy indeed. With the amount of interest that we've gotten. And then let me go live here. Okay, cool. All right, so interesting day today in the market for sure. Um, Definitely a lot of happenings going on with respect to what's happening specifically in the stock market. It looks like Samsung earnings may have caused the sell-off that we've seen in semiconductors. That's why we're seeing companies like Iron down a bit. Applied Materials is having a rough day. They're down 7.5%. So not necessarily the best day for them. And we're probably also seeing something similar in other companies as well. Memory is not having a great day either. SanDisk down nearly 10% in a single day. Um, and a lot of people have seemed to indicate that this is due to the fact that a lot of investors are beginning to take profits in today's market, that there is a lot of activity and a lot of movement with respect to the effectively what's going on with AI and Meta's announcement about how they're starting to question what their compute needs are. What if you beautiful day, Big Buck Wall Street? Are you a bear? It sounds like you might be a bear because honestly, I can see why bears are having a heyday today. Or people are bearish about today's market. Another big one, CoreWeave, which is basically a compute landlord. They are experiencing a bit of a sell-off, down 5% today. So definitely an interesting day so far. Bears seem to be rejoicing. Bears seem to be having a good day. I am partially having a good day, but definitely suffering a little bit as a result of this sell-off as well. Another interesting one is TeraWulf, a company that recently announced a multi-billion-dollar deal with Anthropic, is had an extremely good day yesterday as a result of the news, and then there was a large sell-off. So probably some investors taking profits in TeraWulf. I'm surprised they're down by 9.2%. Do I think Micron is still a good buy? Micron might be a good buy. There's probably, I mean, as far as what's going on today and how things have been looking for them, obviously not the best day today. I think that this correction that we're experiencing with stocks like Micron, stocks like memory stocks, semiconductors, I think that this correction will stabilize. I don't think that we'll continue to see these dramatic days of 3, 4, 5, 600 basis point sell-offs of stocks. Obviously, a lot of investors in Micron probably are not happy with where things currently stand, but this isn't a massive surprise to me. As far as it being a good stock, it could potentially be. It does warrant further investigation based upon current market activity, though, in my opinion. Thoughts on Oracle? I think Oracle's okay. Oracle's here's the thing with Oracle. It's my least favorite hyperscaler, and I think that there are other companies that are in a better position to capitalize off of everything that's been going on. The main thing that concerns me about Oracle is still the existing, effectively, commitments that they've received from OpenAI about the massive amounts of CapEx spends. Thoughts at SanDisk at 1600 could be a potential buy. It still feels a little bit overvalued though. Still feels a little bit overvalued. Do I think Meta will go to $800 a share this year? It's possible, but it would probably have to do. My guess is that if Meta does end up going to $800 a share, it probably will not be as a result of their AI spend, but we'll see. Thoughts on Cyber Semiconductor? Fabino, do you have a ticker? Thoughts on IREN Limited? Still too overvalued. The correction it's experiencing today is good, but this is still too expensive. IREN's definitely overvalued. What have I missed on Oracle? It's my second biggest bag, and I'm down 30% on it. Well, Adam, I mean, at that point, you kind of have to decide whether you're in on this for the long run or not. You know, thoughts on CoreWeave? CoreWeave is my biggest short position. I do not like CoreWeave at all. I'm very, very short on CoreWeave. I don't think it's a good business. CoreWeave's worth $20 a share, and I'm glad it's not doing well today, and I expect it to continue to do poorly. So, yeah. Okay, Sive Semiconductor, Sive.se. Oops. Cyverse Semiconductor, I should say. Obviously, I mean, they're not having a good day. If they're in the semiconductor business and they're losing money, there's probably a good reason for that. They're small. They're a Swedish company, only 132 employees, so they may be new. But what I would say is that, I mean, I don't know a ton about them. They're probably going to experience even bigger swings than better capitalized companies are as a result of what's going on with semiconductors at the moment. I'd probably steer clear of them, to be honest, especially if they're unprofitable. Hims and Hers should be making money. They should be making money, but they're not, and that's a bit of a concern. Thoughts on Micron? We're probably going to see a bit more correction, to be honest. I don't see a super fast turnaround for semiconductors. I think that it's going to take time for things for them to turn around, but we'll see. This is approaching a valuation. I mean, at $900 a share, it's approaching a valuation that's more reasonable. I don't see it going much lower than $900 a share. It could break out below $900, but that would have to be probably on some other outside news. Thoughts on Nokia? I don't like Nokia. It's all hype. Pure hype. Not a big fan of Nokia. Thoughts on Oracle? I mean, Oracle's my least favorite hyperscaler. Oracle is not. It's my least favorite hyperscaler out of all of them. I like Amazon. I like Meta. I like Microsoft more. Thoughts on Marvell Technology? Too expensive. Still too expensive. Thoughts on ServiceNow? I'm currently working on my thesis for ServiceNow at the moment. I'm going to probably be publishing a pretty long YouTube video about it tomorrow. So for the past 10 days or so, the past week, I've been doing a lot of homework on ServiceNow. ServiceNow is an interesting company. They're starting to hit the point of diminishing marginal returns, especially on their CRM products. I like some of the moves that they're making have been good. They did a pretty solid job of integrating AI into their products and services. They probably did the best out of any SaaS company. They're slightly overvalued, though, in my opinion. Their valuation isn't unreasonable, but slightly too expensive for my taste. If they come down to around $85-$90 a share, it could be an interesting one. So if you have ServiceNow, if I had stock in ServiceNow, I'd probably hold it. But I wouldn't be buying more. But holding Nebius since 90 a share seems to be losing momentum. Thoughts? Nebius, CoreWeave, IREN, like these whether they're basically third-party compute providers or former cryptocurrency miners turned to compute providers. I'm not interested in them, and I dump them. Nebius is still too expensive. It's moving in the right direction for sure. This company isn't as bad as something like CoreWeave, but it's not something that I would watch it. Any REITs? TJ, I currently have some shares in Arbor Realty Trust, ABR. And I think they're sitting at about about a 21% yield at the moment, so it's pretty good. How's Marvel expensive? To its earnings, relative to its earnings, it is, in my view. Yeah, I mean, like, in the space that it's in, there's competitors that are cheaper than Marvel Technology. Stocks that I like, Fernando, I'm a big fan of Take-Two Interactive. I'm a big fan of Reddit. I'm bullish on Nike. And I'm also bullish on others. Now is fairly valued. ServiceNow might be fairly valued. You can certainly make the case that it is at fair value at the moment. As far as growth is concerned, this company needs to experience some pretty explosive growth, on top of already pretty good growth it has had already, in order to justify a higher stock price. At the moment, I don't think it's slightly too expensive. It's close to fair value. I'd consider it a hold. G Vernova, I do like G Vernova. They're probably in the best position to capitalize on an energy play, specifically with respect to the natural gas providers, that kind of stuff. When we sell Take Two, I bought it under 200. I'm going to be holding Take Two for a while, Fernando. Probably not till next year. Sell point on Take Two. I like my current target price is around $285 a share. That might end up going up though, depending on what Q2 earnings look like. I think Take Two Interactive definitely has some room to grow. I don't think the market has accurately or correctly priced in what we'll end up seeing from Grand Theft Auto, and I don't think that the market has accurately priced in the value of its Zynga publishing label. Micron thoughts, bought it at 375. I mean, look, Big, if you're happy with the profits that you have at the moment, maybe consider taking them. Because you'd still perform extremely well. If you've had Micron since $375 a share, that means you've probably had it since the beginning of the year, January, February timeframe. And if you get out now, that's still a handsome return. Since March, I mean, yeah, that's probably a very strong IRR, depending on the discount rate. I would imagine that's an incredibly good IRR, going from 375 to $915 a share. And, that's more than doubling your investment in a pretty short period of time. What about Alibaba? Yeah, Alibaba's fine. It could be a good one. ServiceNow is a buy, yes. In my opinion, I don't think ServiceNow is. I don't consider it a buy at the moment. It's roughly fairly valued. A little bit too expensive, but it's close. Loving Palantir. Palantir's an interesting one. I mean, with Palantir, I think Palantir's overvalued. Obviously, they're having a pretty good day today. I still think Palantir's extremely expensive. Don't get me wrong. What they've done with Palantir and what Palantir has accomplished in the period of time it has is awesome. It's actually incredible. Nearly exponential growth, fantastic margins, all that kind of stuff. The problem I have with Palantir is how much hype the market has placed on it. I don't think Palantir is worth 154 times earnings from a trailing 12-month PE perspective. It's just too expensive. What tool? This is Yahoo Finance, and I also have Barron's up. Which stock do I absolutely hate right now? CoreWeave. CRWV, hate it. Just not a fan of this. Not a fan of this at all. Just pure dog poo-poo. What do you say about Micron? I said Micron the correction was probably coming for Micron. I don't think we're out of the woods yet. It could be at an interesting valuation. It's still sitting on my watch list. Just got here. Do you like Palantir? I think Palantir's too expensive. I think that it's just too overhyped by the market, but the business, what they've done with the business and the technology they have and how quickly they've grown it is pretty awesome. Don't get me wrong. Palantir has a healthy balance sheet, incredible earnings, very strong profitability. There are lots of things to like about Palantir. It's just too expensive for my taste. The market hyped it up too much. How long will I hold Reddit for, and is there any point to add? I'm just for now hanging on to it. I don't know when I'd get rid of Reddit, but I like where it is. What do you think of Oracle? I think Oracle it's fine. They're my least favorite hyperscaler though. The problem I have with Oracle isn't necessarily to do with Oracle itself, but with OpenAI. Why not CoreWeave? CoreWeave is a debt-ridden mess of a company that has growing revenue, but its losses are expanding faster than its revenue is growing, and it's competing with its own customers. And its quality of earnings is hot garbage. It has 78% around 80% of what the company earns in revenue comes from three sources. And that's also the case with the company's accounts receivable as well. Just not, it's really low quality stock. It's not profitable. It's not going to be profitable for years. And I think the steam's going to run out for all this AI capex that we're seeing in the market nowadays. For CoreWeave to have a value justified at this, my target price for CoreWeave is around $22 a share. Really, really, really just don't like it at all. Your stock to buy right now. I like Take-Two Interactive. Thoughts on Zscaler? Do we have a ticker for them? Tickers are easier than company names, guys. So if you give me tickers, that helps. SoFi. Here's the thing with SoFi. What I like about SoFi is that SoFi has a really sticky ecosystem. So once you become a customer of SoFi, you probably will be one for a while. However, with that being said, there's some features that SoFi has that makes it interesting, but it's essentially acting as a bank now. And a bank that's at 40 times earnings is a little bit too much. With that being said, there is more homework I need to do on SoFi and Robinhood too, for that matter. So there's things to learn about each that I like, that could justify it. But yeah. What do you think about Marvel? I have a call that's ending the 17th. Needs to be at 279 BE. What's Marvel sitting at right now? Oh yeah, yeah. Good luck. That's what I'll say to that. Good luck. Zscaler. Here's the thing. With Zscaler, I don't know enough about them to have an intelligent conversation about them. I mean, I know that their security apparatus is like one of the best. There's a lot of things to like about that. I can't speak to whether or not it's viable now because of what its path to profitability is. I'd need to do more research on Zscaler. It could be an interesting one. What's going on with AI today? Couldn't keep up. What's going on is there's a big sell-off in semiconductors and memory. People are saying that it's driven by, Samsung's earnings blew it out of the water, but, there's more volatility in Korean markets, and that's spread to the U.S. still. So we're kind of seeing, kind of phase 2 of the Korea shock. Iren's overvalued. I don't like it. CoreWeave, don't like CoreWeave at all. I have a massive short position on CoreWeave. I've shorted CoreWeave at multiple different points too, and they're all profitable. SK Hynix, I need to look at SK Hynix. SK Hynix deserves some more attention. So definitely going to be doing some homework on SK Hynix. Thoughts on SpaceX? SpaceX is still too expensive. So as far as like the post IPO, we're kind of in the post IPO honeymoon phase. I think is ending for SpaceX. This is still way too expensive for SpaceX as a company. Don't get me wrong. Did I get in at SpaceX at the IPO? Yeah, I did. Then I got out 48 hours later. Read my comment, Teradyne. Tommy, I need a ticker. Give me a ticker. I need a ticker, Tommy, for Teradyne. Yeah, with SK Hynix being listed on U.S. exchanges, it could be interesting. It could be really interesting. And I'm definitely going to do my homework on them. There could be things to like about them. What I am cautious about is its valuation. Teradyne. These guys, what specifically are they in? Yeah, they're the robotics. Flash drive, DRAM. Interesting. So they're in a lot of things. Obviously, they're probably having a bad day because they are in the semiconductor industry, but they also own other businesses as well, other lines of business. In fact, we can go look at them on Barron's and just kind of get a recent look, high-level look at what their financials have been. Okay, so revenue's climbing slowly. Net income's stagnant, but they're at about a 17.3% net profit margin. I know you guys can't see that right there. Looks like a relatively healthy balance sheet, and they're probably free cash flow positive. So in order for me to consider that, like, if I wanted to buy stock in this, I'd need to understand what the growth story is. And I'd also need to understand, how they're spending their money and what their main expenses are. Unit economics are probably another important thing about this business as well. So it could be a good play. It's probably a little bit too expensive, but it looks like a healthy business. It could be a healthy business. Your stance on DRAM and SOXL? I mean, ETFs like DRAM, probably too over. I don't get into super specific ETFs, especially leveraged ETFs. That's not my space. Don't like it. Everyone buy Groupon. Yeah, how is Groupon doing today? Okay, wow, yeah, they've had a pretty solid month, I think. Yeah, look at that. Some good calls. Looks like mispriced assets. He got it right on Groupon. So he can definitely claim victory there. That's pretty cool. Mind looking at CMTL? Yeah, so Garrett, I saw your earlier comment. I think this is about there was a divestiture about them. What was in the news about these guys? Don't see anything specific. So I don't like that they're losing money. That's I mean, they're micro cap. So I like not a huge play as far as like a business is concerned. So satellite space communications and Illyrium segments. Okay. Ground station technologies. Yeah, they're losing money and that's expanding. That's to be expected. Ugh. So when you see assets come down like this over time, and I'll look at it quarterly as well. Yeah, so assets are staying stagnant and liabilities are staying the same. That means they're carrying forward their loss on shareholders' equity. So they may have a negative book value of shareholders' equity, which makes it challenging to figure out what their appropriate valuation is, especially if they're also discounted, if they have negative free cash flow. This could be a good company. I obviously have to do my homework on them. Probably going to pass on them for now. S&S segment was moving money for a long time. The stock plummeted after divesting. Probably the right move, probably the right direction. That it could be an interesting time to take a look at it to see if it's a good entry point for them. Can't say that it is at the moment because I don't know enough about the company. Interesting idea, though. Definitely an interesting idea. Recommend you looking at Rheinmetall. Also, what are you using to look at these? This is Yahoo Finance right here, and then this is Barron's. Yahoo Finance, Barron's. Adobe, I still have to do more homework on Adobe. Feels like a value trap, though, to be honest. Walmart's, yeah, WMT, like solid blue chip. Probably one you just buy and hold forever. I mean, I don't see a specific reason as to why I would be getting rid of Walmart, but there's other things to look at potentially. It's honestly just a solid buy and hold stock for a long time. Stocks I dislike right now are SpaceX and Tesla. I mean, I'm not invested in either of them, and I can see why people wouldn't. KLAC, KLA Corporation. Yeah, these guys. What's their space again? I've heard of them. We took a look at them before. You'll manage semiconductor rated electronics, semiconductor process of control, specialized semi component inspection. Okay. Yeah, another semiconductor play. Could be cool. They're even so like they're obviously having a big correction today, but they're much more expensive than some of their other competitors, which is a little bit scary. So I'd need to know exactly why. Michael, I appreciate the gifts, my friend. Thank you. Why am I bullish on Nike? I like Nike's leadership. I like what they're doing to repair their retailer relationships, their bread and butter, was their relationships with Dick's Sporting Goods, Foot Locker, these guys. China is probably going to be a pain point for a little while longer. I put them at around 57 a share. We'll see. Yeah, that's my whole thing on Nike. I have a bull thesis on Nike on my YouTube channel, though, if you like it as well. Or if you want to watch that. I also talk about that as well. ASTS is listen, ASTS, I don't get the hype behind ASTS. AST Space Mobile, these guys, if you're a shareholder in this company, I feel like the best possible outcome for you is to get acquired by SpaceX. The technology these guys have isn't anything. Their moat is extremely thin. And they're not making money at the moment. So those are my thoughts on ASTS. I would probably I'm not getting into these guys at the moment. Wendy's is the mean bullish low PE high dividend stock, short squeeze potential. Yeah, where is Wendy's sitting at? Because I know the Wall Street Bets crowd tried to come to the rescue of Wendy's. Okay, sitting in here. So listen, when you see a company like this, like Wendy's, low market cap, low PE, low beta, and a dividend yield, that, to me, what that tells me is value trap. However, what does warrant investigation about Wendy's is how they're going to get out of that if they can. This right here kind of should tell you the story of how it's looked over the last couple of years. I know it's hard to see, but I'll move the screen over. Net margin 7.5%. And it's kind of a question of understanding how many are franchise-owned locations and how many are corporate-owned. That's a pretty bloated balance sheet. I don't like seeing this at all. And it doesn't change that much quarter over quarter. And it looks like they're making a little bit of money. They're probably like slowly trying to pay down their debt. So I'd say, I mean, it's fun. Like, don't get me wrong, it's fun meme stock at the moment. There could be a good short squeeze. In fact, how much of the float is? Yeah, so 20. Yeah, so it could be a short squeeze. Here, hang on. I know you guys can't see it. So 30% of the float is shorted at the moment. So yeah, it could be a short squeeze play. I don't know though. I don't think this is the next GameStop. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. What was that on ASTS? Was my only biggest position. I don't get it. I don't get ASTS, Chris. I don't think it's not. I think the best outcome for ASTS is to get acquired by SpaceX because they're not making money. I don't see how they could make money for a while. I don't think their moat is very big. Bad on ASTS. It's just starting its journey. It's a wealth builder long term. I mean, I don't see it, David. Caterpillar, now's the time. Caterpillar, this one was a fun one. This one was a fun one. I should have bought Caterpillar when I analyzed it here on TikTok back in September, but I didn't, and I should have, because it's one of the best performing Dow Industrial. I think it might be it's top 3 best performing Dow Industrials of the first half of 2026. They had an extremely good year. I know that there's now some more short sellers getting into them, and a lot of people are getting spooked about how much money is going to actually get spent on data centers. We'll see, though. And Caterpillar is directly affected by that because of, they're in the construction business. So I emailed Wendy's investor relations and let them know they need to cut the dividend. Hell yeah. Let us know if you get a response. I love that. How about quantum computing? Quantum computing is one of my weak areas. I'm still doing my homework on quantum computing. I can't, obviously I can say stuff like IBM, but like micro cap or small cap plays that are in quantum at the moment, I couldn't tell you. You know about the JELO contract with Japan? Yeah, I did hear about that. But that's like they have to repeat that several more times within the next like 18 months in order to become profitable. How about Shaz? Who are these guys? Sharon AI Holdings. Is this a I think these guys are Israeli, right? No. Especially accelerated compute platforms, AI infrastructure, cloud GPU environments. Hybrid model that combines deployment of data centers with development of its data center facilities. I like probably okay. So the company has strategic compute collaboration with NVIDIA, like everyone else. Deploy 72 megawatts AI factory up to 40,000 Grace Blackwell GB3000 GPUs in Australia. Okay. Yeah, probably. Yeah, not profitable. Probably massively overvalued. Not a fan. Not a fan. It honestly kind of reminds me of CoreWeave a little bit, just smaller. Oracle's fine. It's not again, it's not my favorite hyperscaler. I think I like Amazon more. I like Meta more. I like Microsoft more. There can still be you can still make a strong bullish case for Oracle though. Don't get me wrong. They're just there's an opportunity cost that you'd pay by investing in this company as opposed to another hyperscaler that's doing better. Did I already go over Nebius? Yeah, Nebius is too expensive. Way too expensive. It's moving in the right direction, 100%. Nebius needs to come down way more. American Airlines? No. American Airlines is not. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. ServiceNow? I think ServiceNow is. So tomorrow I'm going to publish my thesis on ServiceNow. It's slightly too expensive. It's an interesting company. They've got good things going for them. There are also some pretty clear weaknesses about ServiceNow. It's priced. My target price, and minor spoiler before this, I talk about this on my YouTube video. My target price for ServiceNow is around like $88-$90 a share, so it's close. If you have stock in it, hold on to it. I'm not buying it though at this price. Looks like your preference is towards mature type validated companies, not startups. I mean, David, I look at all types of different businesses. At heart, I'm 70% value investor, 30% growth. The problem is that a lot of micro cap plays have binary outcomes, and most of the time they fail. And I certainly can respect those who decide to invest in them, but the thing is that I don't. There are rare occasions when I do invest in a company that hasn't fully proven its idea out yet. I like to get in at the proof of concept. ASTS, I don't see the proof of concept, to be honest. I could be wrong, but I'm not going to swing at that pitch. Pull up AAL, it's a sleeper. I mean, here's the compared to Delta, not really. I own stock in Delta Airlines, and I think Delta is a much stronger company. American, it's got a weaker route network. It's more expensive relative to earnings. I'm not a fan of it compared to other airlines. Am I bullish on Nebius long term? Depends on how long you define long term, Gavin. But for now, if you call long term the next 18 months, then no, I'm bearish on it. What about NVIDIA? NVIDIA might be worth a look. Maybe. Navitas Semiconductor. I mean, yeah, it's like they're, like every other semiconductor, they're having a bad day. Their smaller, unprofitable one. It just depends on what the play is here compared to like Lam or Applied Materials or whoever else. It's getting into kind of a crowded space. Up 150% on Delta right now. Nice. Yeah. I've held Delta for quite a while. It's probably somewhere right around where I am, I think. Entry in Micron at these levels. Not yet. Not yet, Gavin. Or Ivan, not yet. I could see more room for correction in Micron. I honestly could. And it's not because the fundamentals of the company have gotten worse. It's just where the market activity currently is. So, I mean, momentum's not in Micron's favor at the moment. Absolutely more correction in the DRAM space. I agree, Alex. I agree. All right, Avgo, yeah. Broadcom. It's expensive, I think. There's things to like about Broadcom, don't get me wrong, but I just like, as far as like their like, here, let's go look at Broadcom's recent financials and get an idea of how this company has been doing. At least over the past, like, let's see, over the past 3 months. Yeah, kind of a meh performance. And then as far as their quarterly reports look like, growing revenue and margins are kind of like insanely good margins at 41.5%. Healthy balance sheet and probably cash flow positive. But the thing is that I think whatever sort of growth the company is experiencing, the market has already priced in. So in my view, it might be a little bit too late, but I know that you can still make a very strong bull case for Broadcom. And it's also got some stiff competition too. I mean, you know, you're up against KLA, you're up against AMAT, you're up against Micron, you're up against Lam Research, you're up against Qualcomm, you're up against all types of big players, Marvel. Like, it feels like an expensive, crowded space at the moment, and that makes sense because it's popular. Do I get into mid or small caps? I can, yeah. If you give me a ticker, we can check them out. Where's the money going from semis and memory? Yorn, I have a feeling it's quantum computing. I think the pivot might be into quantum after this, but we'll see. I still need to do a lot more research on quantum computing. That seems like what the logical transition could be, or, you know, we could experience, you know, some macro event like an interest rate shock that triggers a bear market. Even quantum's down? Yeah, for now. For today. What's my opinion on Netflix? Netflix is an interesting one. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Netflix has gotten beaten up way too much by the market in recent history. I think over the last 6 months, Netflix's performance has just been, disappointing, of course. But the thing is that I think this is an interesting price for Netflix. There could be some room for growth here. Obviously, the leadership changes the market did not take well. And competition merging is never ideal news, but still an interesting stock. And it has an interesting price. Applied Materials. I'm currently a shareholder in AMAT. I'm hanging on. To my shares. I probably should have gotten out at around 650. However, like with Micron, like the story with Applied Materials and Micron Technology, they're pretty similar to each other. And the performance is relatively similar as well. It's had an insane run, was probably due for a correction. We'll probably see it stabilize, and then we'll kind of go from there. Should I have taken profits here at $730 a share, last week or 2 weeks ago? Yeah, for sure. But, I don't have a crystal ball. No, nobody else does either. So I'm gonna hang on. I'm holding my shares in AMAT for now. Don't you think Oracle has gotten beaten up too much as well? You could certainly say that. And I could certainly understand, and I think that's a reasonable conclusion to come to with Oracle. And I can certainly see why people would make a bear case or a bull case for Oracle. I would totally understand that, and I would love to hear a detailed bull case on Oracle. I don't like Oracle as much as the other hyperscalers. Could still be an interesting play. Could still be an interesting play. Bought Nebius at 280. Oof, rip. Any reason? It's just read everything. It's just like people are taking profits. There's, obviously there was some news out of Korea that kind of created a shockwave in the markets. Meta had some announcements that they're kind of wondering if they need all the compute that they have or will need everything that they said they'll need. So yeah, I mean, and some sectors are getting hit a lot harder than others, which makes a lot of sense. What's my opinion on MicroStrategies? Oh my gosh. So someone had asked me what my least favorite stock is. I said CoreWeave. This is probably actually a step worse than CoreWeave. This is a house of cards, is what Strategy Inc. is. This is a house of cards. The entire value proposition for this company rests upon what the price of Bitcoin is, and then they have their own non-GAAP financial metric that they made up and convinced investors to buy into about essentially investing in them or loaning them money so they can buy Bitcoin. They own something like 4% of all the Bitcoin there ever will be. And the whole thesis behind it was that you can invest in us and we'll pay you a dividend, or you can loan us money and we'll give you interest payments on the debt. And either way, whatever ends up happening, you'll end up getting a payment regardless. But it was all tied to the value of Bitcoin. And this is dog poo, complete dog poo. Thoughts on Microsoft, chance of recovery? Absolutely. Yeah. There's a chance for recovery for Microsoft. Definitely a chance. Marvel's too expensive. It's in a popular space. It's got a big market cap. It's too expensive, especially relative to its competitors. It's just too much. Like, you're going to get like some notes on, some analysts said it'll sustain 40% year-over-year growth. What's the probability of that actually happening, though? Because, big, bold statements like that are often wrong. Often wrong. So, no, I'm not. Marvel, cool, lots of growth, interesting company, too expensive. Do I think an AI bubble will pop soon? I'm not going to, I'm not going to speculate on when we'll see a large sell-off or a large market correction. I made a TikTok video about this, basically saying, look, there's a lot to see in the market right now. Are things overvalued? Yeah. Will the market correct in the future? It almost inevitably will at some point. When is that going to happen? Don't know. What's going to cause that correction? Couldn't say. How much is the market going to correct? That's anyone's guess. But using history as a tool, there's very strong reason to believe that things are overvalued at the moment and things will probably correct in the future. I'm not going to speculate as to what it's going to be or when. Thoughts on Reddit? I like Reddit, Ivan. Like Reddit. Got Marvel at 270. Time to get out. Leo, so if you got into Marvel at 270 and you're wondering if you should get out, then you got to revisit your original thesis for investing in the stock. And if you believe that if you have high conviction about that thesis and you still believe it to be a good one, then no. But if it was, oh man, I should buy stock in this company because it's going up and there's a lot of attention about it, then that was a weak thesis to begin with. So it's a question of how patient you are. That's my thing. Price target for Reddit, like around 240 a share, I'd say. For now. If it's enough to ponder and ask about, it's enough to cash out. Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. It just depends on what your original thesis was, you know? I think if you have high conviction about what your original thesis was, then yeah, keep at it. But, you know, if not, then don't. What do you think the S&P 500 will be by the end of the year? I could see it. I mean, I could see it hitting 8,000. Oscar Reno says, man, search my stock. Oscar, what's the ticker? Oh, HY9H. Okay. Who's it? Oh, SK Hynix. Yeah. So, pretty interesting. I know they recently got listed. Here in the U.S. I'm definitely, I'm going to be checking them out for sure. I know their valuation has been a bit of a concern for some. However, I don't know enough about the company to have an informed opinion about that. Still got to do my homework on it. Could be an interesting play. Obviously, it's in a crowded space, though. You're going to go all in on DRAM? Good luck. Roundhill Memory, DRAM's probably having a rough day. And, yeah. That's, okay. I mean, go for it. What do you think about my three favorites? Zeta, SoFi, Now. Braden, the most interesting one of those three is SoFi. The most fairly valued of those three is ServiceNow. The weakest one is probably Zeta. What do you think is better, CRM or Oracle? I think there's more room for growth for Salesforce. What's interesting about Salesforce is why it's assigned at this valuation compared to its competition like ServiceNow. ServiceNow is a much more valuable company, at least according to the market, relative to earnings than Salesforce is. And I've done a lot of homework on ServiceNow, and I'm going to be publishing my thesis about them tomorrow. But for Salesforce, there's obviously a fundamental difference between the two companies. My guess is that ServiceNow was the first to essentially integrate AI agents into its platforms. Salesforce may have second mover disadvantage in that front, which is why it's only priced around 20 times earnings as opposed to 60, like ServiceNow. That's my guess. Requires a little bit more homework, though. SanDisk. SanDisk is fine. It's expensive, though. And, I mean, I'm not in SanDisk at the moment. I'm going to continue to wait on the sidelines. It's expensive. It's probably going to correct more than something like Micron will. I mean, obviously, the past couple of weeks have been rough for SanDisk. I mean, it's lost a lot of value. With that being said, there could still be a bull thesis for SanDisk, absolutely. As to what exactly that could be is, somebody who can come up with a bull thesis for SanDisk, I'm all ears. And that's for any stock, too, by the way. SanDisk might be 3,000 by the end of the year. So why, though? Tell me why you think that is. I want to know why you think SanDisk is going to be $3,000 a share by the end of the year. What direction do you think Rocket Lab is going to go in a couple months? Rocket Lab, yeah, this is an interesting one. To be honest, it's probably staying the same. I'd have to see what they have lined up, like what they plan on achieving as far as revenue growth is concerned and where they expect to make money in the near future. But the thing is that I need to understand what the growth story is behind Rocket Lab and why they're a good pick. If anything is going to cause a breakout for Rocket Lab, it's some news event, some announcement or something like this. It's got a high valuation, though. It's got a high valuation. Really don't understand why Micron's getting slammed. It's getting slammed because the Kospi index in Korea, we saw a lot of volatility out of recently. People are taking profits, and I think the meta news is kind of still making waves a little bit. GE Vernova, I like GE Vernova. Solid company in a really, really strong position. Think about Intel. US has 10% of the shares in video, so that's a lot. So Intel's an interesting one. I got in at Intel, back in like 2020, like maybe a little bit after, at about $50 a share. Rode the storm when it was down in the low 20s, high teens, and then got out at 128 a share. So I was a shareholder in Intel for a while. The reason why I got out is because the whole initiative with Intel is they're going to try and turn around its by far most CapEx intensive and by far most unprofitable division to the main front runner of the company. The foundry division for Intel is going to take a while to fix. And I think that the correction we're seeing with Intel is justified, not necessarily because of the news that we've seen recently, but also because of the fact that there are probably investors realizing that Intel, like, it's going to take a long time. Was it worth $140 a share? Absolutely not. Is it worth $109 a share right now? No, it's not. Could it be worth it that one day? Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Is there a bull case to be made for Intel? For sure. I think timeline's the big problem with Intel right now. What do you think of Roland's Inc, or do you only do tech? I invest in any type of company. No, that's not true. I am not a fan of automotive. I don't invest in automotive companies. So Tesla, Ford, GM, Rivian, those guys. I'm not in automotives. But I'll look at any company. What are your thoughts on Bloom when it was there at 320? Now it dropped, but it's too late. Too late. Gravy train left the station for Bloom. MSTR, yeah, complete house of cards that's going to collapse soon. You believe in Nike's recovery plan? I do, yes. I do. What about SpaceX? Too expensive. The honeymoon phase is ending. SpaceX is not a $2 trillion company. It's just absolutely not. And it's laughable to think that today it is. It could be worth that in the future one day. They're burning through cash like crazy. I mean, did you guys read the S1 on SpaceX? Like the 250-page S1. It read like a science fiction novel. They think that their total accessible market is more than $28 trillion, most of which is going to come from AI. Go read the S1. It's there. They're spending a lot of money on XAI. They're losing money on XAI. They talk about how they want to put data centers in space. On the flip side of that, history tells us not to bet against Elon Musk. Did I get in at SpaceX at the IPO? Yeah, I did. I did get in. And then I got out, a day and a half later, 2.5 days later. I'm going to come back to SpaceX in 6 to 9 months and see where it's at. Right now, it's just not worth what it is. I don't get it. I'm just not a fan of this price. What are your thoughts on Autodesk? Yeah, so Autodesk has a pretty cool moat. AutoCAD is, anybody who's ever even spoken with an engineer before has heard the words AutoCAD. They have a cool moat. It requires me to take a little bit closer look at them. They could have a pretty, like what their quality of earnings are, their assets, that kind of stuff. Could be interesting. AutoCAD, like Autodesk, they've carved out a nice niche for themselves. As far as being an investable business at the moment, it could be. I'd need to know what the growth story is, what their quality of earnings are like, what they're doing with their cash, and the quality of their assets on their balance sheet, and what the overall health of their balance sheet. Use AutoCAD every day, and never would change. Yeah, it's like AutoCAD is like Microsoft Excel for mechanical engineers, right? It's just not going to go anywhere. It's too necessary, too important. Switching costs are way too high. I don't even know of a competitor of AutoCAD. Like, is there any other software that does what AutoCAD does? I don't know. Probably not. If I have money in MicroStrategy and SpaceX, or Strategy Inc. and SpaceX, should I get out? And so, Alex, if I own stock in MicroStrategy and SpaceX, I would not only would I sell those shares, I would short the stocks in each. I'm not a fan of either. Well, I will say I'm not a fan of SpaceX's valuation. I am a fan of the mission. I am a fan of what they're trying to achieve. MicroStrategy, I'm not a fan of the valuation or the business. Bro, Nebius just put $6,000 in. Nebius is, I mean, it's very expensive. There needs to be good news on the semiconductor front in order for things to turn around on these guys, or there needs to be, some Wall Street Journal front page story talking about how there's a massive demand gap or supply gap for memory or for compute. They raise prices, can't go anywhere else. It's near monopoly. Yeah, for AutoCAD. You're talking about AutoCAD, right, Elliot? It's honestly impressive what it's done. Is Adobe undervalued? Do you think it'll drop further? Adobe's an interesting one. Adobe feels like a value trap to me. There could be a way out for Adobe, though. I don't know what it is yet, though. I have to do more homework on them. What field could you see having a run like memory is having next? To be honest, I think it's quantum computing. Compare Nebius to CoreWeave. Nebius is extremely expensive. I like to think of it this way. Nebius and CoreWeave are like two bad teenagers that are, like, what's a good analogy? Nebius is overvalued, but it's not as irresponsible as CoreWeave is. I'll say that. I don't like either company, though, at the moment. If I had to pick one of them, it would be Nebius. That would have to be my choice. My favorite stocks are chicken, vegetable, and beef. Hell yeah, love it. What about IREN? It's getting the treatment it deserves. Too expensive. They made the right move. I mean, if you're mining cryptocurrency, if you're mining Bitcoin and you see an opportunity to have a better use of your GPUs, then absolutely go for it. But it got hyped up way too fast by the market. Cyber RGTI. I mean, like other semiconductors, probably having a rough day. In fact, I think we did look at them and they are having a rough day. RGTI, Rigetti Computing. Yeah, I remember these guys. We took a look at these dudes. So like this company is like the perfect example of a company that I need to do a lot of homework on because they're small. I believe they're microcap. Are they microcap? No, they're small, but they're not quite microcap. They're small, but the thing is that they're in the exact space I need to do homework on. It's small cap companies like these where I really need to do my research on and find out like what the value play is. So something like this could be really interesting to check out. I know they're not going to be profitable. I know they're probably still new. I mean, yeah, they were founded in 2013. They're not that old. They're probably losing money. They will probably continue to lose money for a while. So it's a growth play on finding out. Yeah, I mean, oof. So in 2025, they lost $216 million. And it looks like they just raised a financing round. Yeah. So all said and done, interesting play. I'm going to check them out. I need to know more about what the quantum computing business is and what it means. Arrow Quarterly, actually, they were profitable in Q1. Nice. So yeah, I'll definitely look into these guys. And somebody has mentioned them before as well. Could be a very interesting play. And they're in the one sector that I have the most interest but least about knowledge in, which is quantum. Okay, what about TeraWulf and their Anthropic contract? So obviously great news for them. I don't like, and I can see why the market decided to sell off though. I it's okay. It's just they're again they're another GPU landlord trying to differentiate themselves, losing money like all kinds of other GPU landlords. The best case scenario for a company like this is to they probably merge or get acquired. By who, I don't know, and when, I'm not 100% sure. Bro, please be excited about something. I am. I'll tell you what, you guys I am excited about. This is probably the stock I'm the most excited about recently. Take-Two Interactive. This is probably the biggest, this is the biggest bullish play I have at the moment. Really bullish on Take-Two. Really like what they're doing. Really like what they have done. And hopefully when Q2 earnings come out, we can get an idea of what GTA 6 pre-orders are like. Really like Take-Two Interactive. It's a good spot to put my MicroStrategy money if I'm going to get out of there. Depends, Alex. Probably an ETF, to be honest. VOO. It depends, though, on other stuff. That would be my move if I were in your shoes. Would you consider doing a portfolio review? Maybe. We'll see. And thank you for the gifts, by the way, guys. Thank you, Ozzy. Kraken Robotics. Haven't heard of them, Luke. Zeta, expensive. NVIDIA hold or sell? Hold. I would say I would hold them. Alibaba. It's at an attractive price. And I mean, everybody knows who Alibaba is. I need to do more homework on them. This could be an interesting play, though. There could be reasons to like them. How much for a port? Oh, you're asking me to review your portfolio, Ozzy? I don't know if I'm legally allowed to do that. Palantir service now. Palantir's too expensive. Trust me, I like what Palantir has done as business. Incredible, near exponential growth, insanely good margins, sticky ecosystem, weird leadership, very expensive. Their moat is impressive, but there's too many opportunities for someone to do something with AI to basically take some of their market share. Defense and like government contracts is their bread and butter. They're very good at that. They are expanding into industry partners, which I think is the right move. I think they recently announced a contract with Mexico's flagship insurer, like something that's, could be cool. Palantir's, it's too expensive at this price though. BlackBerry, don't like BlackBerry. Not a fan. SoFi doing anything in the next 2 years? It could. But the thing is like if we're looking at like SoFi's at what, like $18 a share right now. If we're gonna see a breakout of SoFi to like 50 or 60 a share over say a 3 or 4 month period, that would have to be a pretty. I don't know what it would be, but I need to learn more about SoFi to find out what it could potentially be. They're like, it's what they're doing is cool. I like they have a sticky ecosystem, that kind of stuff. But the thing is I don't think that I need to know what the growth story is, and they're expensive, like $40, 40 times a trailing 12-month PE for essentially what's a bank with some extra bells and whistles. I mean, that's cool, but it feels a little rich in the valuation. U.S. utility stocks. Utilities are kind of boring, to be honest. What about CoreWeave? CoreWeave's my biggest short position, Brian. I have a very large short position on CoreWeave. My target price for CoreWeave is about $20 to $25 a share. this company is just hot doo doo. ASTS, I don't get the thesis behind ASTS. I think that their moat's not big enough to protect themselves from someone like SpaceX. If you looked into it, not so. I've kind of I've scanned it, taken a look into it, see what they could do as far as like a price breakout and that kind of stuff. The valuation's interesting. Yeah, no, I probably do need to do more homework on Intuit because this could be an interesting play. This could be an interesting play. I like obviously they have really strong brand value with things like TurboTax, QuickBooks, all that kind of stuff. Definitely have an interesting business on their hands. It's revenue growth and it's profitability growth. That's the story behind these guys. So that kind of stuff is what I need to understand. What's their yield at? They have a pretty good yield too. A forward yield of 1.76. But what is Barron's? Let's check Barron's here really quick, because we also need to get an idea of what that's like. Yeah, 1.7% on Intuit. That's not bad. It's not bad. Have you reviewed Wingstop? What's Wingstop's ticker? Do we have a ticker for Wingstop? What do I think about Applied Digital? APD. Or wait. No, you didn't put an L there. Air Products and Chemicals, Inc. I've never heard of them. Never heard of these guys. Wow, 68 billion market cap. So they're not, they're probably a pretty big player in their space. How long have they been around for? 1940, and they're in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Huh, okay. I think somebody had asked me to take a look. I've seen these guys once or twice before, I think. Obviously, they get confused with Applied Digital just because of how similar the tickers are. Yeah, no, it could be cool. I don't know enough about them, though, to be honest. Thoughts on DRAM? Very, very, very heavily exposed. ETFs like this and leveraged ETFs or if there's like a 3x levered like NVIDIA ETF or something like that, I typically steer clear of those ETFs. These guys are pretty heavily exposed, but some investors like that exposure. Wingstop's ticker is Wing. I figured it would be, but you never know. To be honest, I didn't know Wingstop was a publicly traded company, but cool. Obviously their food is gas, like absolutely awesome food, delicious. Yeah, so what's interesting is the first thing that comes to mind about something like Wingstop is that yes, they have 345 full-time employees, consumer cycle. Yeah, so this is, I'm sure almost all their locations, they probably have a couple of corporate locations. So comparing a fast food place with 42 PE to something like Wendy's, which is sitting somewhere around 10, begs the question as to why that's the case, and what makes Wingstop more valuable. I can see why Wingstop's more valuable, but to that degree, seems big. I don't know. I need to look at their earnings because it's like franchise plays like these. It's mainly a real estate game that they have to play, because getting the locations developed is a real estate play, and that can take time. So probably profitable. Probably, in fact, let's see what Barron's has to say. Probably very profitable. But where are they at? Yeah, I mean, margins are growing, revenue's growing. Oh, my God. Okay. Yeah, so they've got either a massive amount of treasury stock or they're carrying forward a massive loss. That's ugly. Financing outflows are much higher than... Okay, so they're cash flow negative at the moment. That's weird. We need to know why that is. Yeah. So obviously I'll continue to be a customer of Wingstop. Love their food. Will I be an investor? I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see. Wingstop has some problems. Well, yeah, clearly. Micron rebound? Maybe not, Isaac. I think there's more room to correct if I'm being completely honest. Intel? No, I'm not a fan of Intel at the moment. It's a little expensive. Their path to profitability is going to take a long time. I'd say 24 more months at least. SMCI? Yeah. Um, this is an interesting one because of the space that they're in as well as their valuation. But the thing is, um, they got raided, didn't they? Like the FBI or like their offices were raided in Taiwan. I know they're under. They've got a pretty big microscope on them right now. Um, yeah, I'd need to see that story play out. Because like that's kind of the equivalent of like a massive class action getting filed against them. There's basically a rabbit hole that just opened up, a big legal rabbit hole that opened up for this company. We don't know how deep it goes. I need to know how deep that rabbit hole goes if I'm going to buy stock in it. ServiceNow, I think ServiceNow is appropriately valued. It's a little bit too expensive for my taste, but it's near fair valuation. I think. Do I think Nvidia will pass? When do you think Nvidia will push past 200? Um, it might be a little while, honestly, Murray. Um, obviously, compute. Oh, wait a second. No. It could be tomorrow, honestly. I don't know. I thought I got Nvidia confused with someone else for a second there. What stock still has to grow in your opinion? Take-Two Interactive and Reddit do, I think. I could see more room for growth for something like Microsoft and Meta. Any automotive company you invest in you like it? No, Brian. Zero automotives. I don't like automotives at all. I do not invest in automotive companies. Too cyclical. Margins are way too thin. CapEx expenses are way too high. No, just not a fan. PSKY from Dustin here. Yeah, Paramount Skydance. So obviously the Warner Brothers merger is exciting. We'll see how that plays out. I haven't seen any news about regulatory hurdles that have presented themselves for this company. I mean, their CEO is a total Nepo baby. It's Larry Ellison's kid running the show here. We'll see. We'll see. The information I need to know to invest in this company is not publicly available, and I probably can't get my hands on it. So that probably means I'm going to be sitting on the sidelines. Yeah. The question is he a smart Nepo baby? Well, I think Michael, you that's a good question. He could be. I think he made the right moves by being loud enough about wanting to acquire Warner Brothers. He paid a pretty high price though. And he didn't really stop with just upping the ante more and more and more. So we'll see. We'll have to see. Robinhood, I need to learn more about Robinhood. They could be a good play. We'll have to see about them. I need to know. It's probably too expensive. It's slightly too expensive, maybe. This could be justified, though. I mean, this could be a justified price for Robinhood. It's kind of like SoFi. I need to do a little bit more homework on SoFi and Robinhood. Because they kind of share lanes a little bit in some spaces. Could be could be a good business. They're not my broker anymore. They were, but I got out after the whole GameStop fiasco 5 years ago. Is Microsoft at a good price? I think it's at an interesting price. I obviously, hyperscalers and Mag 7 are kind of going through a bit of an identity crisis. I think it's still at an interesting valuation. It could still be an interesting entry point. I'm surprised. I was honestly expecting it to go below 350 a share recently when we were like right around here back in late June. Call that about 2 weeks ago. But yeah, no, I like the amount of money that they're spending and what they're doing obviously has a lot of people concerned about their ability to stay caught up in the AI game. Obviously, things like Copilot are behind. Anthropic, they're behind OpenAI, they're behind Google. So the question then becomes, what are they going to do from here? And can their other lines of businesses, support or justify a higher stock price? I think there's a good case to be made for yes. So, yeah. Any long-term stocks you're currently holding? Companies that I'm holding forever are probably like I have Apple. I'm probably never going to sell my shares in Apple. Let's see. Some ETFs I probably won't sell. Yeah. GME is still the play. Maybe. Okay. Well, wait. GME is the best Q1 in history. 2.5 billion shares can be made to pursue eBay. That I don't know if you guys saw that interview on. I think it was Becky Quick who was interviewing GameStop CEO. That was a bizarre interview, and I know that the eBay executives basically laughed at the letter that they got from GameStop, and then threw that letter in the trash. But it was still hilarious. It's still an interesting play. Maybe something will come of that. I don't think so, but we'll see though. We'll see. AMD. Yeah, AMD's fun. Look. There's. I don't see a reason to buy AMD if you can buy shares in Nvidia. Nvidia's it's got a bigger market share, more profitability, better products, better valuation. It's just better by every measurable metric. Nvidia is a better business than AMD is. I don't understand why you would buy stock in AMD when you can just buy stock in Nvidia. Micron and Broadcom. Micron, I could see a little bit more room for correction, to be honest. Broadcom, too expensive in my view. C Unlimited or C Limited? Who's this? Oh, yeah. This is a weird one. Yeah, so they've got like they've got like an entertainment. They've got like online games, and they've got like e-commerce as well. It's an interesting. I don't understand the play, but there could be a strong case for these guys to be made. I don't. I mean, I haven't paid much attention to them. I've only briefly heard of them. Not quite my cup of tea. Could be a good play though. Maybe there's a really strong case to be made for them. Yeah, that the valuation is probably a little. You could say it's low. I'm not. Yeah, I don't pay a ton of attention to them. Bro, Nvidia is not going to outgrow AMD from here. Yeah, the problem is that so here's the thing. Is AMD going to grow faster than Nvidia could? No, it's not. But the problem is that with AMD, you're at a 173 PE at nearly a 2.5 beta. That's high. That's not necessarily good. Looking at AMD's financials compared to Nvidia, and this is just a brief overlook, this isn't anything going into the weeds. AMD's eking out a net margin of about 12.3%. Balance sheet looks okay, and they've had some CapEx expenses. They're probably not free cash flow positive. Now, if we look at Nvidia, NVIDIA is only priced at around 30 times earnings. And I'll pull up NVIDIA here on Yahoo too. Whoops. NVIDIA is priced at, around 30 times earnings at the moment. I'm going to scoot this over a little bit. Earning $6.53 a share. And then looking at NVIDIA's financials, their net margin is 55% compared to AMD's 12%. So you want to buy a business, you want to buy shares in a company that has a worse margin, better growth prospects, priced much, much higher relative to earnings, and like a higher beta? Yeah, no. Not sure if you talked about DRAM, but can you give me your thoughts on it? DRAM, I those types of ETFs I'm not fans of. They're the idea is interesting on paper. It's the exposure might be a little bit too much for me, to be honest. Like if I wanted to get into the memory game, then why not just buy stocks in a memory company? Somebody could certainly come to me and say, well, not all memory companies are made the same. That's absolutely true. However, I do enough homework on my own on these businesses to understand what I think is better and what isn't. DRAM, just probably too expensive. Just a bit overvalued, in my view. Got into NVIDIA at 135. Do you think there's a good play to buy some more? I think to be honest, Alex, I'd really have to look at NVIDIA's financials. I mean, it's so obviously they've had insane growth. They've had insane margins. They're the leaders in the GPU game. There's no question about that. There's no one that comes close to being able to compete with them. The question then becomes is how does the company become more valuable? And that's usually through a combination of several factors. I need to identify what specifically I think those factors are and how realistic those factors come to fruition. Johnson & Johnson. That's actually a good one, Blake. I haven't looked at Johnson & Johnson in a while. There's a lot of things to like about Johnson & Johnson. If I would get in, so my favorite pharmaceutical firm is Eli Lilly at the moment, but if I couldn't pick Eli Lilly, it'd probably be J&J. I don't know. I did own Johnson & Johnson stock a while back. I need to know like what the mix of their business is as far as consumer products and in pharmaceuticals are concerned. And how much the company depends on one line of business versus the other. So it could be an interesting one. It's kind of one that's kind of gathered dust on my watch list that I kind of need to, brush the dust off and kind of reopen the books and take a look at it again. Earnings are next week for J&J. Nice. Okay. Hopefully, maybe they'll beat earnings. We'll see. Thoughts on SpaceX? SpaceX is too expensive. It's too expensive. Do I see it still at 135? I don't have a target price in mind at the moment for SpaceX. If somebody said come up with a target price right now, you have to. It's probably somewhere around less than $100 a share. I'd say it's below $100 a share for SpaceX. That being said, that can change with new information. So if we learn something new about SpaceX, particularly with what their guidance is as we get into their next quarterly reports, we'll see. I think it'll fall in line with Rocket Lab. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe. Is Tesla a buy? I don't get into automotives. I don't buy automotive stocks, so no. Why is the market down today? The market's down because people are a little bit spooked in the memory space. The NASDAQ just didn't have a great day today. Semiconductors and memory got hit a little bit hard. Obviously, the news coming out of Meta and Korea are probably still being felt a little bit. J&J split consumer and pharma 2 years ago. See, that's exactly why I need to look into them again. Because, I've held them a long time ago, and I stopped thinking about them as soon as I sold the stock. Netflix, Energy Fuels. Netflix is more interesting to me. As far as energy plays are concerned, there could be some interesting ones. I know, like the most popular one, or one extremely popular energy play in 2026 was Bloom. To be honest, I think it's a little bit too late for Bloom Energy as far as capturing the rally, especially earlier from this spring. I don't know. We'll see. The Texas Stock Exchange officially opened today. I did hear about that. I did hear about the Texas Stock Exchange being open. There could be that's actually pretty interesting. Got to go look at that. Thoughts on DRAM? A little bit overexposed. I don't love the space. Is Micron a buy? To be honest, no. I see more room for it to connect, for more room for correction. SSR mining, SSRM. So I don't. As far as like mining companies, and what are they though? Like are they gold and silver? Are they precious metal? Yeah, so they got places all over the world. Silver Strand, SSR. So I mean, here's my thing about precious metal companies. If I want exposure to precious metals, I'd just get the futures. I would just like buy gold futures, or silver or copper futures. I do like why. My thing is, and anybody can push back against me what they think about this when they think about this, but I just don't get why you would want to put a business in the way of your exposure to precious metals. So kind of like automotives, I don't really get into mining stocks. I don't think they're that exciting. What about Take-Two Interactive and the GTA 6 company? Yeah, Dylan, I'm very bullish on them. I own shares in them at several different price points. My target price for Take-Two Interactive is somewhere around $285 a share, and I suspect that could go even further, even higher. So it could be an interesting one. Could be very interesting. Favorite sector for the rest of the year? Healthcare. On Micron, you're saying you expect further corrections. What are you basing this affirmation on? Momentum at the moment. As far as the fundamentals for Micron, I think they're still solid. It's still a very solid company. They're still very strong. I don't think we'll continue to see the degree of the corrections we have seen lately with Micron, but was this correction coming? Yeah, I think it was. Will we continue to correct? Maybe, but like with these steep of corrections, down 6, 7, 8, 10% each day for the last in recent history, I mean, maybe not. The fundamentals for Micron are still there, though. So what I see happening to Micron is actually I like to see this happening as a value investor who's actually not into the company at the moment. Because, it makes it a more attractive price for me to buy at as opposed to, $1,100, $1,200 a share where it was. Penguin. Who's Penguin Solutions? Who are these guys? They must have just talked about earnings or something. Hardware, software services, cloud computing. Yeah, okay. Cool. Okay. We need to know what happened after hours. Obviously, they're up a bit. Don't know why. Don't know why they're up. If healthcare is interesting, have you looked at HROW? No, I haven't. Harrow Inc. Harrow Inc. Who are they? Harrow Inc. Discovery, development, commercialization of ophthalmic pharmaceutical products in the U.S. Okay. Branded in Imprimis. Oh my God, that's a mouthful. Imprimis RX segments. Imprimis RX ophthalmology focused compounded medications. Okay. Interesting. So they're all about the eye game. Okay, cool. How do their financials look? How big is the eye drop market and eye medication market? So they're not making money at the moment. How long have they been around for? 1998. Okay. And as far as their financials, how their financials look? Huh. So it's a growth play. Q1 2026, things deteriorated compared to Q4. That might be seasonality. It could be worth a look. Yeah. Could be worth a look. I don't know enough about this. It feels like a growth play. Probably is. So it's kind of a question of how efficiently they're using their R&D capital and how much that's being converted into revenue. Could be an interesting one. I'd have to do a little bit more homework on it. What's my opinion on Broadcom AVGO? Too expensive. Too expensive. ONDS. Yeah. Ondas. Yeah, these guys are the drone ones, right? The drone dudes out of Florida. Yeah, they're like Palm Beach? Yeah, West Palm Beach, Florida. Yeah, so I've said this about Ondas, I'll say it again. Ondas is what these guys need in order to have a price breakout of, to like whatever price per share, a significant breakout, say to like 15 or $20 a share. They need to nail down a pretty big cost plus Pentagon contract, I think. They could be cool. As far as like what their total addressable market is, it's for now it's a defense contractor. Maybe they'll get acquired. They're probably way too expensive at this price at an 81.6 PE on a $4 billion market cap. Yeah. They're kind of sitting on my watch list. Like, I'll continue to take a look at them. Could be interesting. What's your opinion on Micron? Too expensive? As far as Micron being too expensive at the moment, Scott, I'd need to learn more. Right now, momentum's kind of playing game. Like, the market momentum with Micron right now makes it kind of hard to nail down whether or not it's a good entry point. I could see more room for correction. But with that being said, there can be a very strong bull case to be made for Micron at the moment. So it's a tricky one to nail down. Am I in Micron at the moment? No. If I had Micron shares, would I sell them? No. Would I buy Micron shares today? Maybe. Need to look into it a little bit more. What's your opinion on Ondas? I was late. Too expensive. Fun. Cool what they're doing. They need to get a Pentagon contract, and they need to have a correction. They're too expensive. Anyway, guys, I'm going to call it a stream here. Market closed about a half hour ago, but I had a ton of fun talking with you guys. So thanks for everybody who decided to hang out. Appreciate everyone who sent the gifts. Thank you guys so much. And thank you for everybody who decided to hit the follow button today. I had a ton of fun talking with you guys. I do go live every day during the week. I will be live tomorrow, but I won't be live Thursday, Friday. So if you do hit follow, TikTok will notify you when I go live. And maybe if I missed your request today, I apologize. And there's definitely a lot more things to talk about with today's market. There's definitely a lot of interesting things going on. So we'll definitely continue the discussion tomorrow. And in the meantime, check out my other content on TikTok if you want. And if you guys like want like really detailed, really in-depth opinions, really in-depth research, and kind of my take on where stocks are going, I publish my long-form half-hour videos on YouTube where I do a deep dive, like talking about going into the filings, going into everything with respect to a company, really picking it apart at the weeds. That's on YouTube. So go check that out if you're interested. And I've got a couple of YouTube videos out there too. So, yeah, appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, y'all.